Hi, you're listening to Book Chat with author Vivian E. Moore.
Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode. We really appreciate you joining us. This podcast really shows us how we can all learn, live, and thrive off of each other. By sharing our knowledge through our conversations, we will impart some knowledge whilst learning ourselves how to progress even further. Here is your host.
Hello and welcome to Book Chat. I am your host, author Vivian E. Moore. I hope everyone had a great week and I hope that you are having a great weekend. All right, so we're going to get straight to today's show. The title of today's show is You Know My Name, and the topic is writer-character relationship. Tasha Cobb is hands down one of my favorite gospel artists, and she has a long list of hit songs. One in particular is You Know My Name. That song resonated in me because it tells me so much about God and our relationship with Him, and and I thought about what this song meant, at least what it means to me, and I'm sure it meant a lot to her, to actually pen it and to sing it. But biblically, as created beings and children of God, He knows us individually, including our names, and that is such a powerful statement. And it is also true. All right, so we're not going to hover necessarily on biblical principles today, but that is always, in the foreground of who I am as a person, and first and foremost in my life. So, it's not coincidental that these two things sort of coincide together. And, unlike God, writers have the creative ability to construct worlds and all the individuals who exist in them. So, we cannot create like God does, but He has given us the gift of creativity. So, in that sense, we're able to, create stories and things along that nature, and as the creators of these storytell figures, we have a personal relationship with each of them. But it is so wonderful to have a relationship that's so strong that you never need to question how well someone knows you. So that is a great feeling within itself. But the writer and the characters, they have personal relationships and they share familiarities. They know their creations so well that they can anticipate their every move, like a parent who equally knows their offspring, and they can predict certain behaviors based on the kinship and that unbreakable bond. And some may arguably question the sanity of writers. Are they insane, or are they just so smart that they create characters that seem so lifelike that it's hard to imagine them as anything other than that? And it's why writers can tell stories so intimately, so detailed, as if they live vicariously through their creations. And the reason for that is that writers pull from their own life experiences, the tangential link of all story arcs. Writer-character relationships aren't linear, and why each creation's behavior is based upon unique traits. Yes, they are fictitious, but can still display realistic human personalities. Not only are these shared dynamics helpful, but expected in diverse character development. Writers and their characters often share distinctive qualities as if DNA was involved. But despite not having a genetic link, the similarities are still remarkable and still somehow linked together. I've read so many wonderful books from authors that I just adore, and that and that I formed. I don't want to say personal relationship, but still a relationship with the characters that are in those stories, because they left me with an indelible impression, on my life, because I related so well with those characters, and that is something that is so needed and expected, when writing a story, when creating a story, when creating characters in a story. You need that, because people want to see themselves in the stories that they read. They want to see some type of familiar traits within those characters that they see in themselves, that make those characters become lifelike. That is one of the great dynamics of being a great writer, is when you can link those two bonds together, those two things together, because we are humans, and as humans, we want to relate to things that are familiar to us. And if we can see those familiarities in the characters, that we're reading about in whatever story, whatever book, it settles us in, and it makes the reading process so enjoyable, to be able to say, oh, well, I can identify with that person, or I can identify with that character. I've experienced something like that before in my life, or I know someone who's experienced something like that before in their lives. So that is so important, the writer-character relationships, because it shows, not only shows that relationship, between those two entities, but it also shows, how engrossed they are with each other. Not that one is more realer than the other, but somehow they still come together to create these lifelike stories that we crave so much. And that goes without saying. They know the characters in some cases, or either the characters seem so realistic that it seems as if we know the characters better than we know ourselves as writers, because deep within the writer's mind is where the characters exist, separate but still part of them. And readers often wonder if characters are based on personal experience, just what I just said a few minutes ago, or if it's all just make-believe. And the answers are yes and yes. Writers often delve deep and share bits and pieces of themselves through author character traits. But isn't that what makes most fictional stories relatable? That's what we look for as readers, in the books that we read. We want to see some type of relationship, something that's relatable, something that we can build upon, within ourselves through those characters. Like I said, I've read so many great books that had such great characters, and it just left me. I walked away from the book sometimes feeling as though, that I left a part of me behind in that story, because I took parts of those characters from those stories and keep them, within myself. I've often read books and I just didn't want them to end. Because it's like, okay, well, I know once this story ends, that's the end of that book, because those characters seem so lifelike, so realistic, so identifiable and relatable that, you felt as though you didn't want to leave. It's like, if you're a parent, it's like leaving one of your kids behind. It's like, I don't want to do that. I want to take them with me. Everywhere I go, I want them with me. But, in the real world, you can't do that. And that crosses over also to those fictional characters in those stories. Once we finish that book, those characters remain, they're there. But the great thing about that is that even though that story has ended, we can begin a new story and with new characters. Not that you want to have that feeling with every single story that you read, but still it's a great feeling to have. And, and it kudos to those writers, to those authors who have penned these well-written stories that are filled with such emotion and feeling, that, they stay with you forever and ever. You always remember those characters. That's why some of the best books written, some of the best well-known authors, and well-known literature and fictional characters, still, even though they were written, some hundreds of years ago and some maybe not that long, but still, they still have precedence. They just, even over time, you still remember. Nothing ever goes away. You always retain a part of those characters from those stories somewhere deep within you, and that's just one of the things about the writers and the writer and character relationship. They share, so many similarities. They have so many deep and just insightful pairings that it's just impossible to separate the two. And writer-character relationships are the driving force behind great stories. They are filled with emotional involvement and passionate details. They are the glue that binds and sustains that relationship. And the characters can exist in the world writers have created for them. And without writers, there would be no characters, and vice versa. Through this supportive system, the writer-character relationship become entwined, therefore combined through physical description, behavioral, and introspective dialogue, which made possible or is made possible through writer-character interaction. And there you have it, the best of both worlds. All right, folks, so that is our show for today. But before I let you go, I want to make sure that I leave you with these URLs so you can always listen to Book Chat, whether it's live or if you just want to listen to the recorded episode. So anyway, the first one, of course, is Spreaker, and that is https://www.spreaker.com/user/Author Vivian E. Moore. You can follow me across all social media platforms, and that includes Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, but Instagram is by invitation only. Also, if you want to check out my website, that is at https://www.authorvivianemore.com or authorehshepard.com. Also, you can check out my blog, which is updated weekly. That is at https://vivianemore.blogspot.com. And again, if you missed today's live episode, you can listen to it on the recorded episodes across Spreaker, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcast, Castbox, Deezer, Podcast Addict, Podchaser, YouTube, SoundCloud, JioSaavn, that is spelled JIOSAAVN, and also Audible.com, Verbal, VURBL, and Luminary. All right, so those are all the places where you can listen to each and every uploaded episode of Book Chat. All right. And also tomorrow is the third Sunday. I had to mentally calculate that. It's the third Sunday. So I hope that you are looking forward to going to church to worship, with the congregation, and to listen to those messages that will be shared tomorrow by the pastors of each individual church. And don't forget to invite family members and friends and neighbors, and to let children also listen in, because we all need encouragement during these very troubling times that's upon us. It just, sometimes it seems so dreamlike that we are experiencing these things. I guess that too is what makes being able to get away from everything, by reading a book, seems so important. So, just make sure that you are staying safe, because that's equally important. That we're staying safe and, and just utilizing all of the safety practices that have been set, put forward for us to, to keep from getting the virus and spreading the virus. So that's so important. And also what is equally important is telling your loved ones and your friends and your neighbors and just whoever that is in your life, how much you care about them. So on that note, I love you. I hope you love me back. Until the next time you hear my voice, God bless you and goodbye.
Loved what you've heard on this week's episode? Well, the answer is simple. It would mean the world to us if you could head over to iTunes and leave us a 5-star review and feedback. Spreading the word really is the best way to grow our podcast and achieve even greater things. Thank you.